Welcome to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. Build Your Best Business focuses on the entrepreneurial journey. What does it take to successfully start, manage, grow, and eventually exit a business? Today, I'm joined by Frank Cottle. He's the chairman and CEO of Alliance Business Center Group of Companies. Did I get all that right, Frank?
You got that just right.
So thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So tell us a little bit first about your business. What does your business do, and maybe even kind of the idea for it?
Well, we've been around for a number of years. We actually started this company in about 1979 80 time period.
Okay.
We started as a property company back then, building buildings on a land banking theory. I wanted to go into commercial real estate at that time. I'd been in another business. So we were building on a land banking theory, and the smallest amount of bricks and mortar that could tie up the biggest piece of dirt, if you will, in a quality location, or these funny little things called executive suites.
Okay. Yep.
So we were one of the first builders and developers and operators of executive suites in the late 70s, early 80s. And that's really what has launched and what we've grown through the company. We did that for 10 years across California, Arizona, and Texas. Every 110 days for 10 years, we built a new building.
Oh, wow.
So it was quite an aggressive approach. And we sold that portfolio at the end of 1990 and changed our operating format from a property company to an operating company.
Okay.
And myself and two other partners, we then built over the following 10 years, instead of 42 projects, we built 195.
Oh, wow.
So we were building something about, every 30 days.
Right.
And we sold that portfolio right at the height of the dot-com frenzy between April and August of 2000, and changed the company's model once again from a operating company now to a business services and technology company. We decided we no longer wanted to own the facilities. Instead, we wanted to own the customer.
Got it.
And so think of the difference between owning Marriott versus owning Expedia.
Right. Okay.
We wanted to be Expedia.
Got it. Okay.
So we started a company called the Alliance Business Centers Network, which today is 700 facilities in 54 countries. And we use those facilities to service our clients, which we own through another company, Alliance Virtual Offices. And Alliance is the Expedia, if you will, of virtual officing, meeting room reservations management, live telephony, and reception services. It includes itself here in North America. It's a global organization, but its focus is in North America, as well as two other companies, one in the United Kingdom based in London, and then another based in the Netherlands. So we cover continental Europe very aggressively with a separate company, the UK with a separate company, and then mostly North America with our core Alliance Virtual Offices company.
Well, it sounds like, through the process of things that you've gone through, you've either pivoted a couple times off of the businesses or just seen the new wave and decided that that's what you were going to do next.
I don't think we've ever really pivoted. We've not changed industries. I think I would look at it more as if we've taken a step up. We've kept up with the changes in business that were going on and really led the pack. We were the first development company building business center buildings. We were the first company to run an industry consolidation and aggregate the industry. We're the first company to build the technology that is used pretty much ubiquitously across the industry today on a wholesaling basis. And now we're continuing to evolve the company into its next generation, which is as a fund managed investment company, so that we can invest in other technologies throughout the industry, not just our own.
Yeah. And so how did you get into this space to begin with?
I couldn't afford, when I started the company, I didn't have a lot of money. I had some, we had another successful company and some successful investments, but I couldn't afford to build a large commercial property company on my own. And so I had to come up with an idea, if you will, that no one else was really doing, that would be easier to capitalize, a little more exciting than saying, "Hey, I want to build a building just like everybody else is building."
Right. Right.
And so we put the business plan together, and everything you hear about co-working today and communities and everything. Our first centers in 1980 were called comm centers.
Okay. Yeah.
So we were the concept of community and interaction and everything. We were exploring those concepts in the early 80s, and have always been all of our projects were very technologically advanced as well. We had a joint venture with AT&T Bell Labs Group when we started off. We were had a joint venture with GTE. We were the first installation of ISDN, commercial installation of ISDN, which seems archaic now, but back then sure beat a 300 baud modem.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I remember the first ISDN into my house. I was so excited. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, imagine doing that in 1980, 81, the first commercial installation with GTE running the test bed for them. And so we've always tried to push into the next generation. And today we think, as successful as some of our companies are, that the most successful company will be the company that invests in others, doesn't just try to grow itself.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Sees the other ideas. So along that path, one of the things that's interesting to me, because companies that I work with, there's maybe struggling with scaling. And so for the type of thing that you did, building buildings, doing some of the things that you did, those are big projects that have lots of moving parts and lots of risk for them either working or not working. And you had kind of these like tight deadlines. What are some of the things that you saw that helped you guys be successful in that space?
A lot of mistakes that we corrected quickly. I think we're not afraid of making decisions. I think that's one thing that people get kind of tied up in.
Yeah.
In fact, in our company, we have a rule. We explain it to everybody, whether no matter what their position is, that the one thing that will get them fired is their failure to make decisions on their own. If they make a bad decision, we'll fix it.
Right.
We'll figure out how to correct it. But if they fail to make a decision, they slow the entire company down. And that is what we'll fire somebody for.
Well, and it's interesting, like the decision not to make a decision is a decision. Like, what you've done is you've paused things or you've caused issues, kind of down the pipe. So
absolutely it is. And we can't have that default negative decision making in our group. So that's one thing that's always been part of the philosophy. I think the other thing really is to be the best student of your industry.
Okay. Yeah.
I still spend a couple hours every day studying our industry and studying other things that interact with our industry. And I've done that. And most of our executive team does that from day one.
Right.
You have to be an expert at what you do. You can't just be another one in a great sales pitch. You've got to be the guy or the company. And that requires study, diligent study. So be the best student of your industry, I think is another philosophy that we've had. Probably a third one is get the data.
Yeah.
That's a mantra within our company. And we say, get the data. Data becomes information. Information becomes knowledge. And from knowledge, you can take action. So get the data.
And so is that how you decided when you decided to do new iterations of the business? Was that what drove those iterations? Because, it's
a lot of it, yes. If you're a good student and you get the data and you're not afraid of making decisions, you can probably accomplish something.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. Because you're making the decisions based on something.
Based on fact, based on data. And after a while, your instincts, which is your gut instincts, if you will, which is really the accumulation of all of your experiences,
right,
allows you to make decisions even faster and with more confidence. Because you have this massive amount of data you've sifted through over time and decisions you've made, good and bad ones, and we all make bad ones. I think the trick to decision making is if you've made a good decision, sort of like betting on a horse, you let it run.
Right.
If you made a bad decision, don't bet on that horse again. Cut the bad decisions short. Don't keep writing them. There's an old saying that don't beat a dead horse. Well, don't ride a dead horse either.
Yeah.
How,
and so do you have like a time frame, or how do you know when it's time to cut your losses? Because they're kind of two sides, right? There's the side of you've given up too early, or you're just almost there. And then there's the dead horse concept of, this thing's never going to work. Like what's been some of the things for you?
I think it comes back to that student and data issue. If you're like today's media or today's politicians, regardless of which side, you create your data to suit your narrative.
Right.
Okay. If you do that, you'll end up making pretty bad decisions. So your data has to be empirical.
That's an important point, because you'll see entrepreneurs and people starting businesses, they'll find the right data to support their story.
Yeah.
Versus the data driving the story.
Just the right data.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a challenge all the time. I mean, it's a constant challenge. And, you have to always surround yourself with a fabulous team of other people. No entrepreneur. The only thing an entrepreneur should focus on is raising capital and maintaining their vision.
Yeah.
After that, other people should do it.
Got it.
Okay. And otherwise, you end up having a cult-based company around the CEO, and that's where people have challenges in scaling.
Very cool. I like that point. So I want to go to a commercial break, and I want to come back on that, because there is sort of this cult-like following of some CEOs nowadays. So let's unpack that a little bit as we talk in the next break, and kind of what that looks like, and how that drives sort of the way that we're working and some of this gig economy concepts and things like that. So we're talking today with Frank Cottle. He's the chairman and CEO of Alliance Business Centers Groups of Companies. You're listening to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. We'll be back in just a second.
Eric, tell us about Laddering Works.
So Laddering Works is a company that helps other businesses in one of two ways.
Okay.
So your company is either growing and you're not exactly sure how to keep up. So you need to scale operations, maybe raise some money, those kind of things.
So growing too fast.
Growing too fast. Growing too fast. You got kind of structural, you walk in every day, there's a fire. You've been doing it longer than 3 years or 1,000 days, and you still feel like you can't step away from the business and take a vacation. So we help companies on that side. So sort of operational support, looking at their financing, seeing if there's a way that we can help them, get to the next level. Or you're a company that's not doing any marketing at all. So you are maybe stalled. Your business has gotten to a certain level. You make a certain amount of money every year, but you've never gotten above that. And we come in and build marketing structure. So both of them are operational at the end of the day. It's about creating a process and a way to approach it that's strategic. It's that owners don't often know how to do both of those. So they're really good at sales, which means they may need operational structure because they're out signing more customers than they know what to do with. Or they've built a beautiful product that's the best kept secret. And so they need somebody to come in and help them market that product. And so that's the kind of businesses we look for. We come in as a stopgap, and we work with a company for somewhere around 12 to 18 months typically, solve those problems for them and leave them better than we found them. And we're back. You're listening to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. We're talking today with Frank Cottle. He's chairman and CEO of Alliance Business Center Groups of Companies. And we were talking before the break about, sometimes companies can have kind of cult-like following. You've got the CEO and everybody sort of follows what they say. And you need like this balance of conflict. You need to have people around you that are willing to tell you the truth. And so in your experience, where is cult-like following maybe good or bad, or what's the difference? Like what drives one versus the other?
Well, I think the reason you have a cult-like following, and let's take someone like Elon Musk, probably a good idea. First, he's interesting.
Yeah.
He's interesting. He's brash. So he's a personality,
right.
Number one. Number two, he's accomplished some good shit. He's done some good stuff. Okay, so people say, wow, I never thought of that. So usually a cult-like following comes from, there's a reason behind it, and the person's interesting, they're smart, they're aggressive, or at least assertive, and they've actually accomplished some things that others admire. Now, when does that get out of hand?
Right.
where the I'm so cool, I'm so neat, I'm such a business celebrity that I can do anything I want, instead of going back to your skunk works and figuring out what really needs to get done. And I think that's the danger zone, is where you start thinking you're cooler than you really are, and start getting further and further out there for the purpose of celebrity, rather than the purpose of accomplishing your goals, which in a public company is to enrich your shareholders.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And so, and you and I were talking in the commercial break, you're talking about the concept between like ego and will, right? So like, what's the driver behind it?
Well, I think number one, we all have big egos.
Yeah.
You have to have an ego that can survive a lot of failures,
Mm-hmm.
because you will have a lot of failures on your entrepreneurial path. And you have to have the strength of ego to survive that. But there's a difference between using your ego for your own purposes versus having the will of your vision to execute your vision, and putting your ego aside in that, looking at the right way to do things rather than my way to do things.
Got it.
And usually those ideas, almost always those ideas, will come from your team. You've got to have a great team around you at all levels within a company. And the CEO's job really is to listen to those ideas very carefully and make sure they are molded into the vision of the company, so that the company can drive forward in a single direction. And that's what allows companies to scale, really, instead of fragment.
Yeah. And so in our few minutes that we have left, I want to talk a little bit about, because you've been at the forefront of a lot of what I would consider dramatic change in the way that we work and what work looks like. And, you know, and I like, because I've done businesses back when you didn't have the kind of flexibility we do now of being able to start something, right? It was a lot harder
Correct.
to do it. And places like executive suites were a good starting point. It was a good way to go in and kind of be established quickly. For you, you know, what do you see as the future of work? Like, where are we headed with this? Is everybody going home? Are we still going to have communal spaces?
Humans are very gregarious animals. We like to be around other humans.
Yeah.
At least some other humans. We like to be around.
Yeah.
We like to be around people we like. That's why the concept of co-working today is so popular, because it's a concept that combines, as our industry has always combined people, place, and technology into a highly flexible, bundled product delivered with a flexible service agreement. Co-working has added people, place, and technology, and then added community to that.
Right.
And so it's basically allows people to say, it's not where I'm officing, it's who I'm officing with. I like this particular community. These are people like me that have values like me, or maybe a technical background like me. And these are the people I want to hang out with. And so this is where I'm going to office.
Right.
So the concept of a community, and choosing your office by the people that you'll be around rather than the nice restaurant on the corner, is a very much a new way to work, and a way that people are working in our industry since about 2007, 2008. Even in the recessive period, our industry has been growing at 10 to 12% a year over year. That's faster than the PC grew in the .com era.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, I didn't know that was one of the stats. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we're just racing forward as an industry, and I don't see a short-term end in sight, regardless of the economic cycle.
Yeah,
because it's a major change. When you talk about what the future of work probably holds for us, and the differences we'll see from what we see today, first, virtual officing is becoming more and more popular. And what I think you'll end up seeing is virtual reality officing. Today, you and I are looking at each other over our computer screens.
Right.
tomorrow, about 2023, we'll be slipping a headset on. Think of gaming technology and how far that's come. And you'll sit in an office that's pretty low cost, low fixture, whatever, but very high tech in terms of its bandwidth server capability. You'll walk into that office, you'll slip on your headset, and then your real office will be in front of you.
And saving so much time in commuting, because we're in Atlanta, you're in California.
Well, not just that, but because people will still want to gather.
Yeah.
But that will change the dynamics. If you can create your office virtually, then the concept of having the big corner office in the high-rise building downtown doesn't really matter anymore, because you can create that in your headset.
Right.
In fact, you can create a nicer office than Elon Musk has in your head.
You have a different one every day.
Right. I'm on the beach one day, I'm in the mountains one day. It's just a matter of programming. So instead of office space being sold to you, we'll be selling programs to you that allow, for different types of service to be provided through headset technology. And that's the next generation of officing, and really the next generation of business that we'll see. And I don't think it'll be the headsets like we look at them today, which are kind of clunky,
right?
Honestly.
Right.
We're going to see a lot more interesting options in that regard. So
I want the big, I don't know which movie it was, but it had the big white, the holodome, or the big white room that you walk in, and it's like,
yeah, well, that works.
Yeah,
that works.
Yeah.
Because you can do that with a headset.
Yeah.
So I think the virtual reality office is going to become important, and not just for the office environment it will create, but it will totally deal with a lot of societal problems as well. One of our biggest problems today is housing, affordable housing. And the problem with housing is the cost of construction and the way real estate's used. So if you look at you're in Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Downtown Atlanta. Okay, you look at downtown Atlanta, and you know what the cost is to build in downtown Atlanta and the type of buildings you have to build. Well, if you were to have an office in the fringe market, let's say Alpharetta, still a nice market, that was a much lower cost because of your virtual reality office. Or if you're in Manhattan, instead of being downtown, you could be in the Bronx.
Right.
You wouldn't really want to. There's no nice offices there. But once you slip on your headset, you've got a nice office. Okay, you've got all the services. You've got everything you need. So you'll see a repositioning and a repurposing as this grows from about 23 on, for about 10 years, a total repurposing of commercial real estate. That's starting to go on with malls right now, as we see, because of the changes in retail. You will see a like and similar transition with commercial real estate as well.
Very interesting. Well, I love the transitional and sort of periods of chaos and changes, because that's always good for entrepreneurs. We always find things, things to do. New things to do. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you spending time with us today, Frank.
No, it's my pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, so we've been talking today with Frank Cottle. He's chairman and CEO of Alliance Business Centers Group of Companies. Very successful career, and I wish you the best of luck. And thanks for giving us some insight onto what we should be looking at next for work.
Well, thank you very much. And don't forget to buy a virtual office.
That's right. Absolutely. So what are you going to do until next time to build your best business?